Hello, welcome to BT Sports Score. Europe dominated our midweek football viewing, but now we're back to domestic matters. And Manchester City have travelled to the south coast where they beat Bournemouth 2-1. Raheem Sterling's dramatic winner in the 7th minute of injury time, but then he was sent off following his celebrations. Well, City now sit proudly top of the Premier League, but for how long? Could Huddersfield be top dogs come 5 o'clock? Or could even Watford sting Brighton and climb to the top of the Premier League?
Well, as you said, Mark, City have got the weekend underway with that win at Bournemouth. Elsewhere in the Premier League, though, the 3 o'clock games see Crystal Palace and Swansea both searching for their first league win of the season. Huddersfield are looking to make it 3 wins out of 3 when they take on Southampton. Newcastle host West Ham, with both managers under increasing pressure now. And Watford are at home to Brighton, who are still looking for their first Premier League point. So let's take a look at the Premier League table then. City's win has seen them climb above Manchester United to the top, but the lead could change hands again before the day is out, with Huddersfield, Watford and Manchester United all hoping to take over at the top. Now, that defeat for Bournemouth means that they have now lost their opening 3 games of a Premier League season for the first time. West Ham, Crystal Palace, Brighton and Newcastle will all be looking to pick up their first points of the campaign this afternoon. And of course, the whole show will be streamed live on Twitter at BT Sports Score. So if you're watching on Twitter, hello and welcome. And we hope you enjoy the show. We've got around 15 minutes now before kickoff. So let us know your views on today's games or the events of the week as well. You can tweet us or use the hashtag BT Sports Score.
So let me introduce our panel this afternoon. We've got with us Glenn Hoddle, Chris Sutton, Rachel Brown-Finnis, John Hartson and Dean Saunders. And we've got Chris Foyers, our referee, who's at Manchester United. We're going to go straight to Chris because of the drama and the controversy of Manchester City's stoppage time winner, scored by Raheem Sterling, who was then sent off for a second yellow card for his, Chris, I don't know, what do you call it, excessive celebrations? What is the reason that Mike Dean gave him a second yellow card?
Good afternoon, Mark. Yes, it's quite interesting because the first yellow card he received this afternoon was for a cynical foul where Harry Arter was in possession of the ball and making progress up the field, and he was cynically brought down and received a first yellow card. But his second one is for an excessive goal celebration. I mean, we don't want players to stop celebrating, but he physically goes past the steward into the crowd, and there's a massive surge forward that deteriorates where there's a bit of a melee between police stewards and the fans. So his celebration was excessive, and he quite rightly received a yellow card.
But Chris, the crowd come onto the pitch. He doesn't jump into the front couple of rows of seats. The crowd come onto the pitch. Yes, as he's running towards the steward, he probably does give him a bit of a shove. But surely are the crowd not more at fault than Raheem Sterling? He's just scored the winner in the 7th minute of stoppage time for a vital 3 points.
Yeah, but you've got the stewards who are pitch side, who are preventing or trying to prevent that from happening. And as soon as he goes past the steward, that then becomes excessive. And obviously the goal scoring celebration is excessive. And as I've said, it is quite right that he receives a second yellow card. I mean, football fans don't want to see that, but that is the protocol and the law. And Mike Dean is correct on this occasion.
All right, Chris, we'll speak to you throughout the afternoon. What do we think, gents? Then, John, what do you think?
I think it's harsh. Now, I know there's rules and you have to adhere to rules when a player runs into the crowd. There's safety to think about, all these type of things, but I think it's referees there. They've got to have a little bit more common sense. I don't think sticking to the rules, yes, but I think they've got to know the game and the way that Sterling celebrated. It's a great feeling when you score a 97th minute goal. He's ran to the crowd. He's obviously forgot he's on a yellow. I think it's a bit harsh. I think the referee, Mike Dean, he's refereed so many games, experienced referee. I just think let that one go.
Massive win, wasn't it? Because Man City are thinking, Guardiola's thinking, Glenn, crikey, we've got 5 points going into the international break. They're back Man United to win today. It'd be on 9 already. And, you know, therefore the pressure will be ratcheted up. Instead, there it is, 7 points. It's a lot better.
It was a very fortunate goal as well. And let's be fair, Bournemouth played well during the game. They took every punch that City come at them, and they come again. And I felt they were very lucky to get their win, City, in the end. It was a fortunate goal, but I'm with John now. I think common sense has got to prevail, surely. And if you see it again, the crowd are already over before Sterling's even gone there, so the stewards haven't done their job. For me, that's got a bit of common sense. It's the last minute of the game, last seconds of the game. Give the kid a chance.
Yeah. OK, we'll talk much more about that, I'm sure, as the afternoon unfolds. And here's Jules with all the news from the Football League.
Yes, in the Championship, rock-bottom Brentford desperate for a win against third-place Wolves, who dropped their first points of the season last weekend against Cardiff. And speaking of Cardiff, if they're to remain top, they'll have to overcome QPR, who have lost just one of their opening 4 games. Now, in League One, Wigan manager Paul Cook goes back to former club Portsmouth, hoping to remain top. Shrewsbury have never won their opening 4 matches in the Football League. They hope to do that today against Oxford. In League Two, it hasn't been the best start for Harry Kewell in his first management job at Crawley. This is actually their worst start to a season since becoming a Football League club. He takes his side to unbeaten Swindon, who look to go back to the top of the table. And in the National League, the surprise leaders are Sutton, who seem to be building on that fantastic FA Cup run of last season. They're up against Maidstone, and there'll be a battle at the bottom between Torquay and Solihull Moors. Now, fantasy football managers, we're into game week 3. You wouldn't have been happy if you had Sterling in your team, but we've put together a predicted top 11 point scorers for the weekend, and this is who we've gone for. We're putting the spotlight on some cheaper options. Huddersfield Town's Jonas Lossell as our goalkeeper. He's actually the top scoring keeper in FPL with 2 clean sheets and 2 bonuses this season. At the back, Man United's Phil Jones has a very low ownership. Under 4% of managers have him in their side, but he's already got 2 clean sheets this season and is 1.1 cheaper than his teammate Eric Bailly. Up front, West Ham's Chicharito, the most transferred in player for game week 3. He got a brace and 3 bonus points at Southampton last weekend and is just 7.1 million. I'll be keeping an eye on all the fantasy points throughout the day for you as well.
OK, what about our fan reporters? What do they think is going to happen this afternoon?
We're undefeated in 4 games, 4 league games. What is going on, for real? If we can make this a 5th game in a row and we can stay up there, top of the table for this long, Champions League.
Can we play total football? Probably not. You know, just a bit of football would be nice. Hopefully today we see a marked improvement, because the performance against Huddersfield was absolutely atrocious, and maybe bringing more technically gifted players like Johan Gabai back into the starting lineup helps us out and gets us off to 3 points today.
You know, Rafa Benitez is really frustrated. Newcastle fans are frustrated. We're not seeing the players that we want coming to the doors. We've got an owner who doesn't seem to want to back the club, put his money into the club, buy players. Yes, we'll probably see a bit of transfer activity probably towards deadline day, but you know what it is? A win today will change everything. It'll change the mood, it'll change the morale of fans, and hopefully we'll beat West Ham. Come on, the tune.
Oh, apparently today Slaven Bilic is under massive pressure to beat Newcastle, otherwise Gold and Sullivan are going to start looking for a replacement. I don't think that's necessarily true, because they stuck with Avram Grant for a whole season once and we saw how that went. But that being said, I do think he's starting to come under even more pressure than he did from the West Ham fans last year, even though it's only 2 games in. Because again, we started poorly and he doesn't seem to do pre-season right. And the defence is a shambles. Still need another player, but hopefully 4-0 will sort it out today.
Glenn's going to keep an eye on that game at Newcastle, but Dean, with your experience of working up there, and let's be honest, Rafa Benitez has basically said today in the newspapers, I can't get the players I want. It's as simple as the players I'm buying are not those really I'm targeting, but they're the only ones that I can afford. Doesn't make you feel great about a player there, does it?
No, but it's frustration. You can see what's happened. When he was persuaded to stay on, when they got relegated, he was obviously told, when we get back up, don't worry, we'll compete, we'll get some money to you, and you can have a go at the top, because he's not prepared to sit halfway up the league. Benitez is just not like that. He can go manage in a top club in anywhere in the world. So he's obviously been told that, and it's not been forthcoming. So you can see, I did say there's a car crash about to happen, and if they don't give him some money quickly in the next 3 or 4 days, it might happen.
Why did he sign them then, Dean?
Why did he sign the players?
The players.
The players that he has signed.
If he didn't want them, why sign them?
I think he's trying to say, look, I wanted to go shopping in Marks and Spencer's, but I've had to go to Lidl's.
He's at Newcastle.
I can't buy the players from the top shelf.
He's at Newcastle. He's not a top 6 club. Surely there has to be realism from Benitez. He has to take some responsibility.
Yeah, but I think the owner has obviously said to him, we're going to have a go for it. I'm not sure what's been said, but he's obviously said, we'll have a go for it, don't worry.
Yeah.
And now he's able to spend, how much is he spending? 15, 20 million?
Yeah, he's actually collectively, he spent the best part of 40 million, but it's sort of 12s and 6s and things like that. West Ham have actually spent the same sort of money. I suppose part of their problem is they haven't been able to play around the corner here. They haven't had a home game yet.
No,
so that hasn't helped them, has it?
So being on the road, is not the ideal way to start any season. And the first 3 games being away, it's not brilliant. But they've got Joe Hart. Could he be the saviour for West Ham? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I know you're going to keep a close eye on the goalkeepers for us today, of course. If you fancy yourself as a bit of a pundit, you can play along with the new BT Sport Predictor game for free. You can guess the scores from each weekend's Premier League, Scottish Premiership and Aviva Premiership matches. For more details and full terms and conditions, go to the BT Sport website, www.btsport.com/predictor. Right, Dean thinks the Welsh team are going to win away. Funny that, no. Not just loyalty there. And also we've got Chris thinking that Southampton are going to win on the road, and Chris thinking that West Ham are going to win in the North East, where they don't normally do very well. Anywhere north of Birmingham.
No, but I fancy West Ham, Newcastle in disarray, aren't they?
It's a Saturday, therefore Jules thinks that Brighton are going to win. Fair enough. And nobody thinks that Leicester are going to do very much at Old Trafford. OK, a little bit of fun. Join in if you want to. Kick-off is imminent. We'll see you after the break.